So we move on now that the grass is down. I'm going to take this area here, just outside the patio, under the watchful eye of the dog, and make a small to medium-sized playhouse. First of all, I lay out the rough shape of the base before making some pilot holes and inset holes, just so I can get my deck screws all the way in and get enough bite. Whilst positioning the base, I realised that the tree overhung slightly onto where I wanted to build the sides, so I took a few minutes just to trim the side back, but I'm quite confident it'll grow back and around the corner of the playhouse when it's all up and finished. I took my time adding on the side supports. I wanted everything as square as I could get it. That way it'll help later on when I came to put some sheet goods on. It's always difficult working on your own, trying to hold everything in place whilst drilling. So for this, I just used some clamps just to try giving me an extra set of hands. On a couple of the joints, like this one, I used some quite big bolts just to make sure that I tied all the pieces in nice and tightly together. Here I'm using a socket set attached to my driver. The cross members came next, again using some clamps as an extra set of hands and my spirit level to make sure that I had things as square as I could do. Can you spot the error? Just realised I put this post on the wrong side. What a plonker. I'll have to redo that again. You know you've made a mistake when even your wife comes out to point out that it's wrong and she knew better than you did. What a plonker. Typically it was the one joint where I'd managed to round off the head of the screws, so after chopping through I moved the pole onto the other side, started again, fixing it in place, then putting a nice cross support on. And that's it for the end of the night. Starting to take shape now. I'm going to have to call it for this evening. I don't want to be annoying the neighbours too much. But I think it's coming together now, you can tell what that is. Next I moved on to doing the framing for the doors and windows. Once I was happy everything was level, I clamped in some supports just to temporarily hold everything still whilst I drilled in from the side. Morning's progress going on nicely. Put the flooring down, a bit of weatherproof sheeting at the back, two of the back pieces on. So that's 3 boards on. Now down to this gap here, I've measured it and at its widest point at the bottom it's 180 centimetres. So I'm just going to take one more of these, just try cut it down in advance. So I've offered the final piece up, and then all I've done, I've just run my pen down, described the line. You can see those are the lines I've scribed. I'm just going to freehand straight across it from a circular sort. After talking some nonsense there to you, I decided to screw in some more supports just to tie all the sheeting goods together, hold it nice and tight. I'd added a tiny bit of plastic sheeting to the back at the bottom. There was a bit of a lip on the back side and I didn't want any water running in. I thought this might be a good way to divert it out. I can always cover it up later on. Now we're going to add the window. I'm going to put some all-weather glue, some silicone adhesive around the frame, stick it over and then clamp it in place. Kind of skipped a few steps here. Put a couple of coats of green paint on the back. Just trim the edges down at the top. Now I'm going to move on to just bracing the rafters a little bit. Got my sheet goods to go on top and the cladding pot front. It's all coming together now. It's always good to have a second pair of hands. Once the roof was on, I moved on to sanding down the siding that I'd got before painting it, ready to go on the front and sides. Moving on, I cut all the pieces to the correct size that I needed. I'd bought a nail gun a couple of weeks previous as I'd seen one on sale. I didn't realise quite how handy it was going to be and how much it does make it easy just to hold with one hand and fire some brad nails in quickly. The layers built up quickly and I just used my spirit level as I was setting each one just to make sure that everything was in line. I didn't want things to look all wonky when it was done. The side up until the window joist went on nice and easy, but as I found with this one and the one with the perspex over the top, it did get slightly more trickier, trying to keep more and more small pieces all lined up nice and neatly. The last couple of pieces went on quite easy. I just pre-cut some angles into them just to make it fit nice and snug. It's starting to take shape now, just needs a bit of trimming around the doors and windows. I felt like roof tiles overlapping would look better than one solid sheet. Then moved on to routing out all the edges just to take the windows to their full size. I finished the front off with a little bit of trim just to neaten things up and just hide the rafters. And there we go, that's the end of the framing. Still got a door to go on, a little window plant box and a sign up at the top for the general outlay, how things are going to be. This is pretty much it. Nice side window there, it's going to have some opening shutters so my little girl can play. Some grass on the inside, astroturf on the inside. There we go. Join me again for the next phase as I do the inside and all the finishing touches.